Bagseed Chronicles is a podcast about cannabis.
A lot of people, they tell me the strain's so good, and I try it. No, it's not.
Hello again. Welcome to the Bagseed Chronicles. I am Uncle Dig, your host, and I am so excited to be talking to you. A new collaboration is coming soon with my silent partner. She will be taking over the free shit segment, and I am excited about that. Look for that on the next couple of weeks, on the next few episodes. The first product she's going to be reviewing is the Hydrology 9 NX from Claudius 9. One of my other projects, Bong Loads and BS, is another place you can check me out if you want. Me and my buddy Evan are over there talking mostly Oklahoma cannabis. I know, I live in Oregon, but he is based in Oklahoma. And through the power of the internet, we have combined forces. It would be a shame if the CIA installed a kill switch on this beauty. Not today, Spy Daddy. Not today. Today, I have a very entertaining interview with Joe Blunt, a home grower from Southern California. But before that, I'll bet you were wondering what's going on in my garden. Boop. Uncle Dig's garden update. It is August 14th, 2022. We are in gardening zone 8B, and this is Uncle Dig with a garden update. The weather is still hot as balls during the day, i.e. above 90 degrees. But at night, the temperatures are starting to drop into the 50s. Very nice. Very good for staring at plants in your hoodie. However, we do have one more hot spell coming in Oregon, so don't get used to these cool temperatures just yet. All plants except the Fire of Maroof are in various stages of early flower, and all have been receiving CalMag once a week and Fox Farms Open Sesame once a week. They are trellised in a 30-gallon smart pot, except for the Fire of Maroof 2 and the Amnesia Haze 2, which are in 45-gallon and 20-gallon fabric pots, respectively. Fire of Maroof number 5 is 7 feet 6 inches tall. This plant isn't even flowering yet, but is throwing off amazing smells. She stinks like a fruity skunk and a little bit like death. This might be the one I was hoping for. I am so excited. She is lush and not showing any concerning deficiencies. Her foliage is a deep dark green with green small stems and a very dense woody stem at the bottom. A very pretty plant. Moving on to the Northern Lights. She's doing extremely well. She has a lighter color than the others and doesn't smell like much of anything except maybe a light sweet floral note. She is 7 feet 8 inches tall and may be done with the stretchiest part of her stretch. She is a tall but narrower plant than some of the others. The Canatonic has perhaps some of the biggest flowers of any of my plants right now. She is experiencing the most pest pressure, however, from leafhoppers currently. But so far, so good otherwise. She is my shortest plant at 5 feet 7 inches tall from the base of the stem to the top of the plant. I don't know how to describe the smell of this plant. Like earth and grass clippings. I hope it smells different later. The Fire of Maroof number 2 is a behemoth. I have added additional poles to her. She is 7 feet tall and not even flowering yet. She is in a 45-gallon pot, and not only is she tall, she is extremely wide. I will be adding another trellis net this week. This is the largest plant I have ever grown. I am so excited and a bit nervous if she stretches a lot. She doesn't smell much. It is my suspicion that she won't flower until last, which is kind of exciting seeing as she is my biggest plant. What dangerous wonders autumn could hold for us. The CBD Dutch Treat is about 7 feet tall and smells like a sweet candy, a hint of ladies' perfume, and gym socks. She is quite large as well, This is the largest CBD heavy plant I have ever grown. In my experience, they usually flower earlier than the others, more like the Cannatonic has this year. So I am excited for a high yield, hopefully. This will be the last CBD Dutch treat I grow. I will be moving on to some other CBD cultivars next year, unless I find it at a different seed bank. She is looking mean and dark green with narrow leaves and thick, dense foliage. Now, the Amnesia Haze number 1 is 6 feet 6 inches tall and looks very sativa dominant, with long, thin leaves, a popcorny bud structure. But the buds are growing really fast. And honestly, if I hadn't grown such monsters this year, this plant would still be the biggest I had ever grown. She smells sweet, but not much else yet. The other Amnesia Haze seedling is smaller around, due to be in a smaller pot. But other than that, she is pretty similar to the other Amnesia Haze in form and smell, although maybe not quite as healthy. I don't think I will grow a big outdoor plant in a 20-gallon again. I think 30-gallon is the minimum for me. I had a hole in the other 30-gallon and wanted to use what I had without going to the store. As far as IPM goes, the plants got sprayed with a gentle pesticides every 3 to 4 days. This week I have sprayed Dr. Zymes once and BT Caterpillar Killer once. I haven't been seeing as many ants in my garden. I had an uptick in spiders in my garden, so that seems to be working in my favor. Although I have to keep spraying off the plants to make sure the spiders don't establish themselves in my buds. The spiders themselves won't do any real damage, maybe besides pooping in them, but my real concern is the buds being covered in spider webs. Several different types of wasps have been hunting in my plants as well. Happy hunting, ladies. The only outsized damage is from leafhoppers, which I think the wasps are eating, because the damage has slowed down. The peppers are going crazy. I have been making a lot of tortilla soup, so I haven't been making any salsa, because I keep eating all my peppers in the soup. It's a good problem to have. I hope everyone is having good luck in their garden. Stay safe, and let's overgrow the world. I love that the Bagseed Chronicles has taken a space in your life and hopefully in your garden. If you enjoyed this episode of the Bagseed Chronicles, please share with a friend. After all, the best bag seeds always are. Everyone, welcome to the Bagseed Chronicles. Please welcome Joe Blunt. Joe is a cannabis home grower and home breeder from Southern California. Welcome to the Bagseed Chronicles, Joe.
Thank you. Nice to be here. I'm glad
Hey,
to meet you, man.
hey, you too. Hey, what have you got going on in your garden today?
Today, I just fed my plants. They're going into flower, so I had to do a little pre-flower feed.
Oh, awesome, awesome. What do you feed them in a pre-flower?
In the pre-flower, I usually do ferments. Right now, I'm trying this fertilizer by Cultured Biologics.
Okay.
And I grabbed a couple samples from them to make it easier for this grow because I wanted to get some good flower this time.
Nice, nice. What kind of yield are you expecting off those plants?
Well, I have 5 of them. I'm not expecting too much. I want at least a pound of some really good smoke.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't want no lard for none of that. That's what I'm aiming for. Some good nugs.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So when did you start consuming cannabis?
Started consuming cannabis around 12 years old or 13.
Okay. What around what time was that? How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 28 right now.
28, 28. So you started consuming cannabis. We're going to try to do math and we're going to 28. So that's 16 years ago.
Yeah.
So you've
That's
been smoking for a while.
yeah, but when I started, I didn't smoke every day, you know.
Oh, that makes sense. You're probably running
Yeah.
off with your buddies periodically when you could get away, right?
Yeah. You know, I do live in San Bernardino, so it's pretty ghetto over here. It's easy to get
Right,
into
right.
that type
Even
of
as a young
thing.
man.
Yeah.
So you live out in San Bernardino, so you live in Southern California, Southern California.
Yeah, we're in Southern California here.
And so back then, how were you normally consuming?
Oh, actually, the first time I smoked out of a highlighter pipe.
That's so funny. That's the way I did it the first time too.
Yeah, I was hearing your podcast and I seen that. I was like, what? There's no way. That's crazy.
Yeah, I for and in Texas of all places. Now
Yeah,
I hope you had better weed than I had. I really hope
well,
you did.
no, I didn't.
Oh
I didn't start
no.
off with good weed. I started off with some stress, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I was hanging out with like some gangster people, trying to find my scene, trying to
Yeah.
see what I'm into. And well, I hanged out with those type of people because that's what was around at the time before it got
Hmm.
cleaned out over here. And there was a lot of stress. We would get some occasionally. We would get some Arizona stress, and we'd call that the pretendo
Okay.
because nicer looking weed.
So what do you mean by stress? I've never heard that term.
Oh, stress? It's just the swag. You never heard
Oh,
swag?
okay. I've heard of swag. I've never heard anyone call it stress. I like that.
Yeah, we just call it stress. That's what we used to call it. I don't know. This is San Bernardino terms, probably. I'm pretty sure all Southern California uses that term.
Yeah, I've never been down there, man. I only know one person from SoCal that I currently like kind of talk to, and he's from Riverside and he doesn't live there no more.
Yeah, Riverside's nicer.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never been there. One day I may visit LA. I don't know. We'll see what happens. LA is a big town, and I like to be a country mouse as much as possible.
You're not gonna like LA.
So okay, so what back then? So you were smoking stuff from Arizona, stuff. Then when did you start getting into a little bit better weed?
Going into high school.
Okay,
Yeah, going into high school, when I started meeting a lot more people. I went to a better high school than the one I was supposed to go to, so I met a lot more people.
okay.
And then there was a lot of black people that had a lot of good weed and white people that had a lot of good weed and pills and stuff like that. And you
Okay.
started getting into those scenes, start seeing the quality, the difference, you know.
Did you become a medical patient, or did you just kind of go on the black market kind of consistently
No,
until
I've been black market consistently, stayed black market too.
okay.
I use it for pain and stuff like that. Like I use it for my own medical reasons.
Yeah, but you don't go into the formal card system at all.
Yeah, I don't do none of that.
Well, and now that Cali is legal, like what, 6 plants at home, you're all golden now anyway.
Yeah, that's when I started growing.
Okay, right when they legalized. What year was that?
I think it was 2016 or 2018.
Yeah, I think it was like fairly recently in the grand scheme of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you've been growing now for wow, 20 it's been 6 years almost. That's crazy. So you've been growing now for 6 years. Has there been any difference in what you've been growing now versus what you were growing then?
Yeah, I was growing nothing but backseed back then. And
I,
just one or two plants to myself. Didn't
okay.
grow, Then I just decided, I'm gonna start a profile and start growing and taking pictures. And I've seen so many people doing it. It's like
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with it, right?
Yeah, it's fun, and it's a fun way to meet other people and like get support if you get stuck. And like Instagram's been a big resource not only for me to like meet people who are like-minded home growers and have them here on the show. It's also been really cool to like learn things that I didn't know. A lot of times if I find the new bug or something, Instagram's how I figure out like what it is a lot of times. And I'm a pretty knowledgeable guy on insects, but sometimes you just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, the Instagram has been a lot of help for me too. I've been a lot of people that have given me tips and stuff like that on bugs, on pest management.
Yeah, there and I noticed that you keep your plants they went partially outdoors and they were kind of partially shaded, and then you put them under a greenhouse and really spread them out. Now,
Yeah.
do you cover them in that greenhouse um to protect them from the weather or to provide security, or is it an IPM thing for bugs, or is it kind of all of those things?
Yeah, it's a mix of all of it. I live next to an airport, so it's a lot of helicopters always going through.
Oh, yeah, and that rotor wash would mess up your plants if you didn't have them covered. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then if you live in a populated area like that, people looking over the fence, they might cause you problems.
Yeah, a lot of people always looking over the fences. Yeah,
See,
we hear they come and snatch your plants around here, man.
I've been extremely fortunate. My plants go kind of over the fence every year, and no one's ever ripped from me, but I've only been growing kind of like you since it became like mostly legal. So I hope that here in Southern Oregon there are bigger properties or bigger plants for people to grab. But I've been, like I said, I've been very fortunate. But
That's good.
I'm also here like all the time. Like
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, I have dogs, so nobody would come in the yard, but you don't know. You could buy a dog a bone and that'd be your best friend.
Oh yeah, a lot of dogs for sure. I uh I don't have dogs, but I have chickens. I've had people come in my yard who've never like dealt with chickens. And of course, my chickens see you, they come running toward you like really hard, necks out, beaks towards you like little, and they've scared people before because they're just trying to get food from you, right? But they
Yeah.
come busting out of the bushes or wherever they're at and then just making a bunch of racket and running at people. Some people get scared. So I've got my attack chickens.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I love chickens.
I do too. Do you have any chickens?
Nah, there used to be a couple in the neighbor's yard that were free roaming. Caught two roosters, and I
Yeah.
took them to my in-laws' house, so that I have them up there right now.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah, but
I've never had roosters, but I have four female chickens.
oh yeah, the roosters are nice, man.
So I noticed that you've got a couple of I think you told me they were homebred strains, ghetto candy, and I think there was another one.
Oh yeah, Bliss Butter Madness.
Okay. Are those your favorite cultivars to grow these days?
Well, I made them about 2 years ago, a year ago. The ghetto candy was the first year I decided to actually grow online and take pictures and stuff. That season I made the ghetto candy.
Okay.
And I didn't make so many seeds and I ended up sharing a couple of them. So I didn't end up with any seeds myself at all.
Oof.
So that at the end, I ended up growing it. People liked it, gave some seeds away.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I like giving away seeds. Especially bag seeds. I'm still one of these dudes that'll periodically I'll get a bag from a friend or something and I'll get to the bottom of it and there'll be a couple seeds and sometimes I'll save those for myself. Every year I try to do at least one bag seed run just for fun, just to see what pops out. Sometimes it's male, sometimes you know how that goes. Sometimes it doesn't work out. So I grow the regular genetics, but I really do enjoy growing bag seed because they'll throw you really weird phenos.
Yeah, sometimes you probably get some better stuff than the seed you buy.
Sometimes, yeah, and I've had really good luck with bag seed, and I've had really like okay luck with bag seed. I know I noticed you said you were doing a ferment. Are you more of an organic grower or do you use synthetics as well?
Well, I try to go as natural as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, organic is it's hard to keep it completely organic.
Right.
But yeah, I try.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like I use like microbes. I use this thing called microbe mass. I got a sample of it the other day when I made a big purchase. It just gave me a regular bottle of it. I've been using that. I know that's not organic, but it'll get out.
Well, yeah, and if you're flushing at the end, like I use a lot. I use some synthetics, like my nutrient line. I bought a grip, like a grip. When I tell you a grip, like I'm a home grower, I don't use that much fertilizer because I start out in organic soil, and then as that is kind of depleted toward the end, I'll kind of just add some synthetics to help the plant so across the finish line. That's how I've been doing it. It's not like the best, like maybe the way other people grow. It's just the way that I've been growing, and I haven't run out of these synthetic newts yet. So I keep using them at half dose, and then I think when I run out of these Fox Farm nutrients, I'm gonna start trying some more ferments and some more teas, at least outdoors. Now, I don't know if I'm gonna be brewing teas in my garage in the winter because frankly, I don't want my garage to smell like that.
Yeah, no, it does smell. It stinks.
Uh,
Especially when you do a fish ferment, it will smell.
oh, right. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
I've noticed that a lot of people who are doing the ferments, whether it's KNF specific ferments or just ferments in general, like teas and stuff for their organic grows, they are brewing that stuff constantly. And the fish ferment is like kind of your moneymaker, it sounds like.
Well, yeah. Well, during veg, I recommend some fish amino acids. A lot of
Yeah.
growth. Plants love it.
So when you're talking molasses, how do you get the molasses into the plant? Are you top dressing with molasses, or are you fermenting molasses in like a tea?
Oh, I'm not even using molasses this time.
Oh, okay.
This season, I've kept it as minimal as possible.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's just the soil that I get. I get some big root soil, and I think it's really good.
Oh, so you're using like a start to finish kind of super soil almost.
Yeah, well, it's all organic soil. It's really good. I
Okay,
like it.
cool.
And then I'm top dressing with some amendments. It's called the Pride Lands.
Okay, I've never heard of that.
I think it's called the Green Grow.
Okay. There's
The
so many nutrients out there now. There's so many companies out there doing cannabis specific stuff. And then on
Yeah, that's
top of that, there's all these fertilizer companies that have been around for years that kind of sell you the same stuff, but it's just not targeted directly at cannabis. So there is like a booming fertilizer industry right now, all around, cannabis. And I think cannabis home growing has blown up in the last, like, I would say the last 2 years. I feel like maybe not more people are doing it, but more people are open about it. Would you agree with that?
yeah. They'll put it on their label now. Before they wouldn't.
Well,
They'll
right.
say specific.
Companies. Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
that's
and I think people like home growers, like, for example, before I started the podcast and like probably 2 years before that, I would never dreamed of talking to a stranger on the internet about my home grow. Like that just would not have been a thing I would have been remotely interested in doing, like at all, in a public forum. And now I do
yeah,
it like every couple of weeks at least, which is wild.
yeah. It is wild. It's evolved so much. The community.
Yeah, but so for me, like especially being from Texas. So long story, very, very short. I turned 18, I joined the army, and I GTFO'd out of Texas, and I never lived there again. Um, So coming from there to the West Coast and getting out of the army and becoming involved in the medical cannabis scene here was a bit of a culture shock. Because on the West Coast, a lot of times people just don't really give a shit. Like they don't care that much. Not like,
Yeah,
and they might get irritated with you. They might be like, oh, fucking stop smoking weed over here or whatever. But they're not like immediately going to necessarily call the cops on you, which in Texas, they at least when I was growing up, they would. Like it was not like friendly or accepted like anywhere. So it was a little bit like just like that people would be like, "Oh, you want to come see my home grow over here?" Or like when I first like got a place here, my neighbor tried to sell me a pound. Like, bro, I'm not even like that's how I knew I was meant to be here. I was like, "Oh, I kind of like weed." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, you like weed?" I'm like, "I like weed too." And he's like, "Here, you want to buy a pound I grew last year?" I'm like, well, I don't need that much, man." Of course, like,
yeah. That's awesome.
dude, it really was. Oregon's a trip, especially if you move into the right hood. Oregon can be a real trip. I've got like I live in like a subdivision and there's multiple people blowing up their backyards here and they're just doing it for personal use, but like it also like people in Oregon, they smoke big, man. They smoke a lot. There'll be these guys up in the hills with like 12 plants every year putting like 3+ pounds per plant a year. They just smoke big stogies like they're cigarettes, dude. It's wild.
Damn, that's insane.
Yeah.
Weed is so expensive, man. That's one reason why I grow it too.
Oh, honestly, if you're like working class or living on working class money, you've got to like, if you want to have like I don't want to say like a heavy weed habit, or if you want to consume a lot of cannabis, or you even want to make edibles, you kind of got to grow at home if you want to be able to afford it. It does get expensive.
Yeah, it does get expensive.
And that's what, and then like, that was one of the reasons I'm able to medicate with it to the degree that I am, is because, I still go out and buy it periodically. Like I run out or I want to conserve my home grow or whatever. But like it makes a huge financial difference being able to grow my medication at home. And it also protects me from the whims of the market. Cause when I first started, when I first started going to the dispensary, man, it was all indicas. That's all you could find was indicas, which is great, right? I love indicas. That's what I'm looking for. Cool. But then periodically the market will flip, and now everyone wants to, like, there'll be like two indicas on the shelf, and then everybody will be growing sativas. And then,
Yeah.
or now what your strain that was doing you good, that's your consistent medicine, ain't hot no more. So now the dispensary ain't selling it. So
Oh
you
yeah.
run into that too. But if you've got your own like kind of cuts or plants growing, you can always provide yourself with medicine that's pretty similar to that.
Exactly.
And that's really important thing that I think people don't understand about cannabis, that I wish more people did, is that every plant is its own unique medicine. Like there's definitely like branches on the same tree they're all sitting on, right? Like OG Kush and Alien OG, you're kind of on that same branch. They're kind of going to do similar stuff. But then, like, you've got the Afghans over here and the Thais and all these different strains that do different things that have different cannabinoid profiles. And it's really important that if you find something that works for you, if you can find the seeds of that, get it. And then if you can find the one, keep growing that one if you can. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing to be able to keep a strain so long.
I have a buddy that's kept a couple strains around for almost 6 years. My buddy Lucas up in Tacoma. He's got a strain he calls carrot cake that he's been growing for 6 years.
Yeah, I love carrot cakes.
Dude, this thing does. It tastes just like a carrot cake, man. It'll flip your lid. Like you roll it in a joint paper and let it pickle for a day and then smoke it. You close your eyes. You're like, that's carrot cake with weed butter in it. You know what I'm saying?
Damn, that sounds tasty.
You know how Skittles,
Yeah.
the first time you get a good Skittles and it tastes like you just threw a bag of Skittles in your mouth and you're like, oh man,
I
it's kind
haven't had a Skittles like that.
really?
Really?
Oh, see, one person gets it right and they grow it really good, right? And then everybody gets a hold of it and they rat fuck it. I swear that happens with every strain.
It
Because
does, because a lot of people they tell me the strain's so good, and I try it. No, it's not.
yeah, and that could be down to so many factors. And I've only had Skittles like that twice, man. Let me tell you the dispensary. It was Breeze Botanicals in Gold Hill, Oregon. I and I tell you what, if you if and I'm they don't pay me shit. They don't know who I am. But if you go there, they always got good weed. And it costs. But I bought a top shelf Skittles there because I smelled it and it smelled like Skittles. And my wife gave it when we gave it to me when we got home, we started smoking it. And I got mad at her. I was like, what'd you put in this? Right? Like, no, I'm like, what did they put in this? This don't taste like, it tasted like candy, bro. Like straight Skittles. Like, of course it tasted like weed too. Like I'm not a crackhead. It still tasted like weed, but it tastes like Skittles flavored weed. And it blew my mind. It blew my mind
Wow.
because I didn't believe the hype.
Well, I don't believe it till I try it too. And like I'm saying, there's so many cultivars nowadays, and not all of them know how to grow it right.
Well, and I feel like each cultivar like has its own little preference. I've had a couple autoflowers that really responded really good to the way I grow. And then I had this one that didn't want anything. It wanted the dirt it was in. It didn't want any nitrogen. It didn't want any top dress. It didn't want shit. Every time I tried to give it anything, it got mad at me. And then at the end, it got hungry. And I was like, fuck you, bitch. Like, you didn't want anything until week 5. And now you want a little bit and then you want to fade. Like, it was really annoying. It's good weed, but I feel like if I knew that plant a little better, I could have done better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's important to keep the same plants around and grow them. You never know how good that weed is till you actually learn how to grow it, you know?
Well, and that's my problem. I love growing new stuff. It's been a constant thing, and I don't have an air conditioned space, so I can't keep cuts around like all year. So I had like a really long growing season this year because I grew out the the fire of maroof seeds that weren't femmed. I got 5 plants. I took cuts. I sexed the cuts. That got me down to 3. I gave one of the seedlings to my neighbor because I didn't have room. And then I'm growing 2 of these females out. And now one of them is 6 feet 8 inches tall.
Wow.
And the other one is pushing 7 feet. And
Yeah.
yeah, they're big. They're big.
They're,
Oh, they're big.
yeah, they're huge.
They started them in February.
Oh yeah, seeds do come out on their
And
own around that time.
I started them in February, and I've been dealing with them this whole time. And then once I cut, that's it. I gave a cut to my buddy early on, and I gave a couple cuts to my neighbor. My neighbor killed the cuts; they're dead. And I don't. I my buddy is on one of his things. I got you got a buddy that shows up like once every 6 months, smokes a bunch of weed, hangs out for a couple days, and then goes shoot for another 6 months.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, guy, he's one of those. So I'll be hearing from him. So he might have 3 plants of it, right? That he's got going. He might have spread cuts. Like I was hoping that he would just spread cuts all over the valley and then everyone would have it. But he might just have kept it to himself, or he might have killed it. I don't know. I haven't heard from him.
Mm,
But
that
I'll
sounds
start
nice.
again. I've got 6 more seeds of that. So I'll start again eventually. I'll do another run.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I tried to. Like, I don't have any indoor setup either to keep any cuts, so I start off from seed every season also.
I like doing that. I think you can learn a lot the plant that way, but I do envy my folks that have access to an indoor space all the time. But I
Oh
will
yeah,
but the times could change, right? Like eventually the laws could change and I might get forced indoors, like, or the environment could change, right? I've got this LED light, this LED street lights. They put LED street lights in my neighborhood. Now, if I plant the plants too close to the street light, it fucks up the flowering cycle. So I got
yeah,
all my plants in the darkest part of my property. But if it doesn't work this year, I gotta buy an AC unit and I gotta blow up my garage and I just gotta stay in there all year. And it's not what I want. It's not my first choice. I would rather be using the sun and growing outdoors. But the environment can kind of dictate where you're growing if you're growing for yourself.
yeah. That is very true.
Well, so anything you'd like to plug before we get out of here?
Do you are you gonna shade your plants or do you not shading them at all?
I don't generally shade them. I've thought about it, but I generally don't ever know how much they're going to stretch or how tall they're going to get when I put them outside because I don't really I have never I usually am growing everything for the first time. Like for example this year I'm only growing one plant that I've grown before. I'm growing a CBD Dutch treat that I've been growing every year now for like 3 years.
Oh,
But
that's nice.
but see, all of them are above 6 feet tall, and I would have to have a pretty tall greenhouse because I think they're gonna be 8 feet tall, Joe. So I don't know like how I would cover them. Now it's bitten me in the ass before. Like I've had hail come through and really fuck me up. Before I've had caterpillars, bugs. I deal with them every year.
Yeah,
Wind. So
they're
sometimes
crazy, right?
oh yeah, but budworms are crazy. Sometimes I have to cut early because of the weather. Um, sometimes, stuff happens, but I really enjoy growing them out in the full sun. I just, it's how I learned to grow and I'm really partial to it. One day I may cover them, but I think if I covered them, I would have to do smaller plants and I would really have to struggle to limit their height. And I don't want to do that. I like growing big, stupid, tall plants.
Yeah, and I understand. You get a bigger yield. They look nicer.
Oh, they're so pretty. And yeah, yield is a factor, for sure. Also I have a bad habit, like I'm using trellis netting this year, but use a lot of times when I'm training, um, I manhandle the plants and I break branches and I try to be gentle, but I'm never quite gentle enough. So I try to limit the amount of trellising I'm doing to maybe 2 big trellising sessions a season or maybe 3. Because every time I start fucking with trellis netting, I'm breaking branches. And this late in the season, like yeah, I just struggle with training and controlling them. I don't like to do it. I do prune, I do thin them out. I do, bottom prune. I clean up the bottoms a lot more than I used to. And then a lot of times the fade thins them out a little bit. I let them fade pretty hard toward the end. So as the buds get
Oh
bigger,
yeah.
I'll be pulling a lot of yellow leaves off. And so by the end, they look pretty rough, but they're ready. They're beautiful. I like a plant that goes through a 2 week senescence. So you're getting a lot of like purples. If it's got some red that'll come out on the stem during stress, I like to see that. I'm mean to them at the end.
Yeah, I really like the Afghani one you got going.
Oh yeah, yeah. The fire of Maroof, the two that are in the with the T posts and the plastic trellising.
Yeah, they're huge, man.
Yeah, so one of them is, I think, and I measured this last week, so they could be taller. 6 foot 8 inches tall from the bottom of the pot to the top of the plant, and the other one's pushing 7 feet. And the one that's pushing 7 feet, the one that's slightly taller in the big 45 gallon, it's got so many like keeper branch, like every branch up there at this point, I've kind of decided I'm gonna keep. Like I've pretty much pruned all the ones that don't reach all the way to the top. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
I've got like it's a big canopy. I've got like probably like a 4 foot canopy going, but it's so dense. I'm really excited about these. So I was, I'm always skeptical when I go with a new seed company, and they still haven't flowered yet, but I'm excited about these. I'm really excited. They're supposed to be Fire OG mixed with a landrace Afghan called uh, Maroof Black, which was pulled off of the Durand Line project. These guys from India went to Afghanistan in 2021, I believe, and they pulled a bunch of original genetics, and that's what that Fire OG was crossed with, and that's what I've got. And I've got another pack that I'm saving for my next long season when I do another couple big plants, probably not next year, but the year after that. It's called Aga Red, and it's the pure land race preservation from another cut out there, and I'm so excited about it. I love Afghans. I love them. And anything I can do to kind of pay it, like get money back into Afghanistan, that's good. Like I feel like as a veteran of Afghanistan, like I know that we didn't handle that the way we could have, and maybe we shouldn't have been there, or whatever. I feel a little guilty, and so I like to grow strains from there if I can. And I hope that those people that picked up those seeds from those farmers compensated them, and I just hope that my purchase helps that. I don't know, but I hope.
Yeah, I feel you. It's understandable.
Well, it was excellent having you on, Joe. I really enjoyed our conversation, and maybe we could have you on again to talk to you about the harvest and how it went.
Oh yeah, it would be a pleasure. I'm glad to be here and thankful.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Do you like to plug your Instagram or anything you're working on before you go?
Yeah, well, I'm growing right now. I'm growing this cravings. It's a cross between ghetto candy that my friend Derbs made.
Okay.
Uh, he crossed it to this thing called Karas cake
Okay.
by Red Eye Genetics.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm excited for this to see how they come out. I've only popped 6 seeds and I ended up getting 5 females. One of the seeds ended up dying, so That was pretty cool.
Nice, nice,
Yeah. So I got 5 different phenos, all ex different expressions.
nice.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to see how these come out.
I
My Instagram is the real Joe Blunt.
yep.
I changed it. I used to be Mr. Unstoppable Grows, but mm, no, I used to be Joe Blunt originally, my original Instagram. So I kind of wanted to take it back to that.
Awesome. Returning to your roots. Well, thanks for being on the Backseat Chronicles, Joe Blunt. We'll see you next time.
All right, thank you. You have a good day, man.
You can reach me, Uncle Dig, on Instagram at Uncle Dig. The bumper music on this podcast was produced by Chad DeVilliers on ukulele. He can be followed on YouTube at Ukuleles Are Stupid or on Instagram at Chadwick Enterprises. Thank you for listening to the Backseat Chronicles.